Welcome back to News Bites, everyone. Another week, another batch of interesting stories from Pasco County.
It's been quite a week, hasn't it?
It has. We've got everything from business developments to some unfortunate crime, changes in education, and even a bit of local history to celebrate.
Sounds like a full plate. Where should we start?
Let's kick things off with some good news from the business world. Wesley Chapel is getting a brand new high-end retail center. It's going to feature a Whole Foods market and a Lifetime Fitness center.
Oh, wow, that's pretty upscale. When can residents expect to see that open?
It's slated to open in 2027, and it'll be located just north of Aronwood Boulevard, with access from both Aronwood and Bruce B Downs.
It seems like Wesley Chapel is really attracting some big names these days.
It does, doesn't it? And in other retail news, Brooksville residents can now enjoy the convenience and savings of a new BJ's Wholesale Club.
Oh, yeah, I heard about that. Didn't it just open?
That's right, it just opened on February 21st. And they even have a gas station.
Now that is convenient.
And here's bonus, they're also partnering with Feeding Tampa Bay, donating surplus food weekly. Really great to see new businesses contributing to the community like that.
Absolutely. It's a win-win for everyone involved.
It is. Now, switching gears to education, Fox Hollow Elementary School is undergoing a major renovation.
Oh, really? What kind of renovation?
They're actually replacing their open concept classrooms with closed ones.
Interesting. I remember when open concept classrooms were all the rage. Why the change back?
Well, the school administration believes that closed classrooms will help students concentrate better and minimize distractions.
Makes sense. It's important to create a learning environment that supports focus.
Absolutely. It's quite a big project, though, expected to take a couple of years and cost around $3,000 per classroom.
Wow, that's a significant investment in the student's learning experience.
It is. Now let's move on to healthcare, where we have a couple of stories highlighting some of the challenges facing Floridians.
Okay, what's happening in healthcare this week?
Well, Florida is grappling with what are being called dental deserts, areas that lack adequate dental care.
I've heard about that, yeah. And this is especially a problem for children, right?
Exactly. One proposed solution is certifying dental therapists to provide basic dental care, but this idea is facing some pushback.
Oh, I bet. From who?
The Florida Dental Association is opposed to it, so we'll have to see how this debate unfolds.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens there.
It will, and in other healthcare news, many families are running into roadblocks trying to find affordable health insurance.
That's a big issue everywhere these days, but why is that happening in Florida?
It seems to be tied to underfunding of the Navigator program, which helps people, navigate the Affordable Care Act's marketplace plans.
Oh, I see. So without enough support, people are struggling to find plans they can afford.
That's the gist of it, yeah. And this is particularly concerning in Florida, where many people rely on those plans for their health care.
It's a tough situation for a lot of folks.
It is. Now, turning to some unfortunately serious news, the Pasco Sheriff's Office announced the arrest of a suspect in connection with a fatal shooting.
Oh no, where did this happen?
This took place in Wesley Chapel on February 16th. And in other crime news, a 30-year-old woman named Brittany Sheffield was arrested in Newport Richey for attempted murder and arson.
Attempted murder and arson. That's horrifying. What are the details?
It's alleged that she intentionally set fire to an RV where her victim was sleeping.
Oh my goodness, that's awful.
It is. Now let's shift to some developments in the political sphere. Roger Handberg, the U.S. Attorney for the Middle District of Florida since 2021, has stepped down.
Do we know why he stepped down?
The reason for his departure hasn't been made public, but it's not uncommon to see this kind of shift in leadership when there's a change in presidential administrations.
That's true. Those positions can be pretty politically sensitive.
Absolutely. And speaking of politics, in response to the severe flooding in the Tampa Bay area last year, State Senator Danny Burgess has introduced a bill.
Oh, really? What is this bill about?
It aims to improve flood preparedness, and it would require local governments to conduct yearly inspections of their stormwater systems.
That sounds like a good step toward being more proactive.
It does, right? Now, before we move on, there's a bit of local history to celebrate. Port Richey is marking its 100th anniversary.
Wow, a century. That's amazing. Any special events planned?
A whole bunch. They've got a chili cook-off, a business expo, a car show, and even a Johnny Cash tribute concert all lined up. And they're happening throughout the spring.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
It does, and if anyone wants to get involved, they're also looking for volunteers to help out with the events.
That's a great way to be a part of the celebration.
It is. Now let's talk about some weather-related news. A flooded neighborhood in Pasco County that's been struggling to access their homes since Hurricane Milton finally got some relief.
Oh, that's good to hear. What happened?
A state-owned pump was installed so residents can finally get back to their homes.
I bet they're relieved. That must have been a difficult situation.
I'm sure it was. And, it's interesting because on the flip side, we have another story about a retired couple who are considering a pretty big change due to hurricane worries.
Oh, really? What are they thinking of doing?
They're actually thinking about selling their home and moving to higher ground. They had to evacuate during Hurricane Helene, and it got them thinking about, whether staying put is worth the risk.
I can understand their concerns. Hurricanes are getting more intense, and those evacuation orders can be disruptive and scary.
They definitely can be. Now, shifting gears a bit, staff cuts at the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service are having a negative impact on, of all places, the nation's only dedicated refuge for manatees.
Oh, no, not the manatees. What's happening there?
It's a staffing issue. The refuge is located on Florida's Gold Coast, and it's a 32,000-acre refuge. And it's peak manatee season right now.
So with fewer staff, they're struggling to manage.
Exactly. The cuts are part of a wider federal workforce reduction, and it's left the remaining staff overwhelmed trying to handle the influx of visitors.
Those poor manatees and the staff who are working so hard to protect them.
It's definitely a tough situation. But before we move on to our next story, I want to highlight some good news for homeowners in Pasco County who are impacted by recent hurricanes or other major disasters.
Oh, that's good. What's the good news?
The county is offering partial property tax refunds to homeowners whose properties were rendered uninhabitable for at least 30 days due to those events.
That's great. A little financial relief can go a long way after a disaster.
Absolutely. The deadline to apply is March 1st, so folks need to act quickly if they think they might be eligible.
It's good that the county is doing that for its residents.
It is. And on a lighter note, we have a feel-good story about a young, local talent making a name for herself. 17-year-old Q Sims from Hudson is a rising star in artistic roller skating.
Oh, wow, that's cool. How long has she been skating?
She's been competing since she was just 4 years old, and she's already racked up an impressive collection of awards from World Skate and USA Roller Sports competitions.
That's amazing. She must train incredibly hard.
She does. She trains for 3 to 5 hours every day with her coach, Biden Cormier.
Wow, that's dedication.
It is. And while she's focused on her skating career right now, she's also thinking about the future and considering studying forensic science in college.
That's great to hear. It sounds like she's got a bright future ahead of her.
She does. I think we've covered a lot of ground today, from business and healthcare to crime, weather, and even roller skating. It's been another exciting week in Pasco County.
It has. There's never a dull moment. And we're grateful that you joined us for another episode of News Bites.
We are, and we want to thank you, our listeners, for tuning in each week and being a part of this journey with us.
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to stay updated on all the local happenings.
And for more in-depth coverage and the latest news, you can visit our website, the Pasco Herald.
Tune in next week for another bite-sized serving of news from Pasco County. Until then, stay informed and stay curious.